The wind cut across the plain like a blade, dragging dust and dry grass along with it, rattling the loose boards of the half-collapsed corral. The sun was sinking low, staining the land in blood-orange light, but the beauty of it meant nothing to the woman on her knees in the dirt. Her dress was torn at the hem, once blue, now brown with grime and darkened patches that told a story she wished she could forget. Her hands trembled as they pressed into the hard earth, nails broken, skin raw. One shoe was gone, the other barely clung to her foot. She lifted her face to the sky, not in prayer, not anymore, and screamed. "Just kill me," she cried, her voice cracking, ripped apart by the wind. "Please, just get it over with." The sound echoed across the empty land, swallowed quickly by the vastness of the frontier. A horse stood several yards away, reins dangling loose. The animal shifted uneasily, snorting, sensing danger that had already passed, or maybe danger yet to come. The men who had dragged her here were gone now. Gone with her food, gone with her money, gone with everything she'd had left in the world. Except her life, and even that felt like a cruel joke. She squeezed her eyes shut, tears finally spilling free, cutting clean lines through the dirt on her cheeks. Her shoulders shook as the weight of it all crashed down on her at once. The hunger, the shame, the pain, the endless road that had led her here with no place left to go. She didn't hear the hoofbeats at first. The rancher did. Elias Crow had been fixing a fence when the sound reached him, faint, wrong somehow. Not cattle, not coyotes. A human voice, carried on the wind like a ghost. He froze, hammer still in his hand. Out here, voices usually meant trouble. He stood slowly, straightening his tall, broad frame, eyes narrowing beneath the brim of his weather-beaten hat. He hadn't spoken to another soul in nearly a week, and he liked it that way. People brought complications, lies, regret. Still, no one screamed like that unless they were desperate, or dying. Elias listened again. "Just kill me." The words hit him harder than he expected. He swore under his breath, dropped the hammer into the dirt, and crossed the yard in long strides. Within moments he was swinging up into the saddle, movements practiced and efficient. His rifle was already strapped behind him. His horse, Boone, needed no urging. They rode fast, dust kicking up behind them as the ranch faded into the distance. By the time Elias crested the low rise and saw her, the sun was nearly gone. She was kneeling in the open, small against the endless land, shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear into herself. For a split second, his hand tightened on the reins, and instinct screamed at him to turn around. Ambushes happened like this, but then she lifted her head, and he saw her face. Not defiance, not deception, only wreckage. Elias slowed the horse and dismounted several yards away, boots crunching softly on gravel and dirt. He kept his hands visible, posture calm but alert. "Ma'am," he called, voice low, steady. "I ain't gonna hurt you." She flinched violently, scrambling backward on her hands, eyes wide with terror. For a moment, Elias thought she might bolt, but her body betrayed her, too weak, too exhausted. "Don't," she sobbed. "Don't play with me. Just do it." He frowned, confused. "Do what?" She laughed then, a broken, hysterical sound that made his chest tighten despite himself. "Shoot me, stab me, leave me for the wolves. I don't care. I can't do this anymore." Elias took a cautious step closer. "You're safe. Whoever hurt you, they're gone." That did it. Her strength gave out completely. She collapsed forward, forehead hitting the dirt, sobs tearing out of her in ugly, uncontrollable waves. Elias stood there, uncertain, heart pounding in a way it hadn't in years. He hadn't planned on this. Slowly, he knelt beside her, careful not to touch her yet. Close enough that she could hear him over her own crying. "What's your name?" he asked. She shook her head, curls clinging to her damp cheeks. "Doesn't matter. It does if you want help." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, barely louder than the wind, she whispered, "Clara." Elias nodded once. "All right, Clara, my name's Elias. You're on my land now." Her breathing hitched. "So you are going to kill me?" "No," he said firmly. "I don't kill people who ask for mercy." She looked up at him then, really looked, eyes red and swollen, searching his face for the lies she expected to find. What she saw instead unsettled her more than cruelty would have. Pity. And something like loneliness. I don't need mercy, she said bitterly. I need it to end. Elias exhaled slowly. Ending ain't always the same as peace. She scoffed weakly. You sound like a preacher. I ain't, he replied. Just a man who's buried enough to know better. He finally reached out, offering his canteen. She stared at it like it might vanish. I can't, she whispered. They said I wasn't worth the water. Something dark flashed behind Elias's eyes. They were wrong. After a long hesitation, her shaking hands took the canteen. She drank greedily at first, then slower, coughing, tears dripping onto the leather. Elias watched her carefully, noting the bruises on her wrists, the way she winced when she moved. Every sign told a story he didn't need to hear to understand. When she finished, she sagged back onto her heels. Why are you helping me? She asked. Men don't help for nothing. Elias looked out toward the horizon, jaw tight. Because once upon a time, someone should have helped my wife. And no one did. The words surprised him as much as they did her. Clara swallowed. I'm sorry. He nodded, accepting it, though it didn't change anything. The light was fading fast now. Night on the plains was unforgiving. You can't stay here, he said, standing. You'll freeze. She laughed weakly. That'd be fine. He turned back to her, voice harder now. I didn't ride all this way to watch you die. Silence stretched between them. Finally, he extended his hand. Come with me, he said. Just for the night. After that, you can decide what comes next. She stared at his hand like it belonged to another world. And if I don't? She asked. Then I'll still sit here till morning and make sure you're breathing, he replied. That, more than kindness, broke her. With a sob, she reached up and let him pull her to her feet. As Elias lifted her into the saddle in front of him, Clara realized something terrifying and strange all at once. For the first time since she'd screamed for death, someone had chosen her life instead. And the lonely rancher riding into the dark with her had just shocked them both. The ride back to the ranch was quiet except for the creak of leather and the steady rhythm of Boone's hooves. Night settled in fast, the kind that swallowed the land whole, leaving only stars sharp enough to cut through the dark. Clara sat stiffly in front of Elias, afraid to lean back, afraid to assume anything about the man behind her. Every jolt of the horse sent pain through her body. She clenched her jaw, refusing to make a sound. Elias noticed anyway. You're hurt, he said, not accusing, just stating a fact. I'll live, she muttered. That ain't the question. She didn't answer. Truth was, she wasn't sure she wanted to live, just not the way she had been. But the warmth of the horse, the solid presence behind her, and the simple fact that someone hadn't abandoned her yet made the darkness feel different. When the ranch finally came into view, Clara almost missed it. It wasn't much, just a small cabin crouched against the wind, a barn leaning slightly to the west, fences patched so many times they looked like scars stitched over older wounds. This is it? She asked softly. Elias nodded. Crow Ranch. Ain't pretty, but it holds. He dismounted first, then lifted her down with surprising gentleness. Her legs buckled the moment her feet touched the ground, and she would have fallen if he hadn't caught her. She stiffened instantly. I'm not. She started. I know, he said quietly. Easy. He kept his hand steady, respectful, until she found her balance. Only then did he step back. Inside, the cabin smelled of wood smoke and coffee grounds. One oil lamp cast a warm glow, chasing the shadows just enough to make the space feel real. Clara stood in the doorway, unsure if she was allowed to step further. You can sit, Elias said, nodding to a chair near the fire. She hesitated, then obeyed. The moment she sat, exhaustion slammed into her like a wave. Her hands shook again, worse this time. Elias set about his tasks without fuss, hanging his hat, stoking the fire, setting a pot of water on the stove. The normalcy of it all felt unreal, like she might wake up any moment back in the dirt. He returned with a blanket and draped it over her shoulders. She flinched, but didn't pull away. Thank you, she whispered, the words unfamiliar on her tongue. He grunted, as if uncomfortable with gratitude. I'll get you some food. I can't pay you, she blurted. Elias paused, back still turned. Didn't ask. I mean it, she insisted. I've got nothing. No family. No money. If you're expecting. I'm not, he said, sharper than before. Then he softened. Eat. He handed her a bowl of thin stew and a chunk of bread. Clara stared at it for a long moment before lifting the spoon with trembling fingers. She took one bite, then another. Tears slipped down her cheeks, dripping into the bowl. Elias pretended not to notice. After she finished, he pulled a small tin from a shelf. Salve, clean cloth, a bottle of whiskey. This might sting, he warned. She nodded. He knelt in front of her, careful, professional almost, as he cleaned the cuts on her hands and wrists. His touch was firm but gentle, like he was afraid of doing more harm. Who did this? He asked quietly. She swallowed. Men who saw a woman alone and decided that meant something. His jaw tightened. They followed you. I was heading west. Thought I could find work. Thought wrong. He wrapped her wrists, movements precise. You're not wrong for trying. She laughed bitterly. Feels like it. When he finished, he stood and gestured toward the back of the cabin. There's a bed. You can sleep there. Her eyes widened. And you, I'll take the chair. That's not. It's settled, he said. You need rest. She searched his face again, waiting for the price to reveal itself. It didn't. The bed was simple but clean. The moment she lay down, her body sank into the mattress like it had been waiting for this exact moment. Still, sleep didn't come easily. Every sound made her tense. The pop of the fire, the wind against the walls. After a while, she spoke into the dark. Why are you alone? Elias didn't answer right away. My wife died 3 winters ago, he said finally. Fever took her. Took the baby too. Clara's chest tightened. I'm sorry. So am I. Silence again. You could have turned me away, she said. Most men would have. Most men ain't worth much, he replied. She almost smiled. Morning came slowly, pale light slipping through the window. Clara woke with a start, disoriented, then remembered where she was. For a split second, panic surged, until she smelled coffee. She sat up carefully. Her body ached, but it was a different kind of pain now, one that came with warmth and shelter. Elias was at the stove again. You sleep? He asked. Yes, she said. I think. Really sleep. Good. She hesitated. What happens now? He leaned against the counter, considering her. That's up to you. I don't have anywhere to go. You could stay, he said, simply. Help around the ranch. Long as you want. Her heart skipped. You don't even know me. I know you were left for dead and didn't turn cruel, he said. That's enough to start. She looked down at her hands, freshly wrapped. And if I bring trouble? I've lived with worse, he said. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they didn't fall. I don't want to be a burden. Elias met her gaze. Loneliness weighs more than work. Something shifted between them then, unspoken, fragile. She nodded slowly. Then, I'll stay. For now. Outside, the wind still howled across the plains, indifferent and vast. But inside the small cabin, 2 broken lives had quietly decided not to end, just yet. And neither of them understood it fully, but both felt it. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was the beginning of something neither had asked for, and both desperately needed.